Dash, how you been holding up? You been holding up all right?
From the
Yeah,
apocalypse.
I'm doing all right. Oh.
This
My-
fuck you, Kathy Engelbert. This is State of the Game. Thank you for joining us. I am the Phil Collins of the hip hop blogosphere, Dano, joined as I am every week by someone who's in a lot of emotional pain. It was hard when Diddy went down. It was hard for my co-host, but it's even harder to lose a hero,
Wait.
Shannon Sharp, who was having sex on Instagram Live, and he was Shannon Sharp's always been his hero because he was pretty sure he never had sex, and now that he's brokenhearted, it's a very sad day. So we're here to comfort him. Thank you, Kay, for being here, as you are every week.
Yeah, man.
We're here, and I am joined by two of the rarest people, music journalists, right? And with big claims to fame, Cinemasi, real notes, throwing live shows, making big moves, amazing writer. I think if I was going to give you one claim to fame, this is a person that made Mike Dean so mad that he Google imaged till he found a silly picture. I can't say that. That's Dylan Green. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Dan. I'm just like, I don't know. I'm just here. I've been minding my business all summer, and I'm happy to be here talking about Ka, because it's always time to talk about Ka. So thank you for having me back on the boat, bro.
My other guest is possibly my favorite music writer going right now. Just in terms of the words, and just an eloquent person who survived writing a negative Eminem review, and is here on the other side of it. Rehabilitated mentions, Dash Lewis, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I think this is my 4th appearance on the show.
We
But
should
it's always
track
a pleasure.
that more. We should.
Yeah, 3rd or 4th, something like that.
Most people track these kind of things, Kay, where they're like, this is your 5th time. I'm just a long time ago, we were like, we're just gonna have people we like come on.
Absolutely.
And if it's many times, it's many times.
This is my 2nd
Yeah.
in this configuration with
Yes,
these 4 people. This is
absolutely.
wonderful. I'm very happy
Yeah.
that we're all reunited on this record too.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Yeah, for real. Same here. I think the last time we all spoke was Arm & Hammer shit. So,
Yep.
like more indie heavyweight. I'm always here to talk about a indie heavyweight. And yes, clap it up for Dash surviving the fucking Pitchfork Eminem comments, man, because that's not nothing, bro. Like that's really not nothing.
If you go on social media and just say a mean thing about Eminem, it's going to take 2 weeks to rehabilitate your social media, right? It'll find you.
Yeah, they're gonna send you to the pits of Hades, bro.
You write
It was like a month for me. There was a second wave, and I know that Dylan can relate to this because there was a hit piece about me and what's the name from Rolling Stone, because we trashed the Eminem album, and that
was it the spin piece?
That was a spin piece, yeah.
Yeah.
And that just sent a whole new wave of just angry, I don't know, dudes who look up AK-47s on the internet right at me. It was bad.
Yeah, dude, that's not nothing surviving that. So, and we're so glad to have two of the smartest people I know, and Kay, brokenhearted, to talk about. I want to set the stage here. New album, The Thief Next to Jesus. We're going to talk about someone who I would call the most alone artist in rap music right now. See, if you think about it, right? Ka's first album, Ironworks. Some people don't accept it. I accept it. First album, it's an amazing album. It only has one song with features, Los Druga. And second album, Grief Pedigree, one feature, Rock Marciano, right? Knight's Gambit, one feature, Rock Marciano, right? Days of Yen Lo, no features, you know.
Yen Lo has a Rock Marcy feature.
Oh, it does have Rock Marciano. Okay, and then the Samurai, no features, right?
I think so, yeah.
Martyr's Reward, one feature, Rock Marciano, right? Descendants of Cain, I think he's one feature, Rock Marciano.
Rock Marciano, yeah.
And this album, no features, all produced by Ka. And there's lots of artists who produce their own work and don't have features, but it's because they can't get features. They're building to something, right? Ka is there and could get lots of features and could get lots of people to do his beats and stands alone. And it is I feel it on this album. I feel how alone he is. So I just wanted that out there as we started.
Yeah.
Does that make sense, Dylan?
Yeah, I think so. Like even if you look at like his he put out like technically a double album in 2022, Language Arts and Woeful Studies. That's also like, I don't know, he's just like he's alone, but he's also got like he's kind of recreated his neighborhood in his head and his memories, and it's just like all in the music. And I love how he's given like Brownsville of like the 70s and 80s and even the early 90s this kind of like mythological like luster, like even with stuff like Orpheus versus the Sirens and Descendants of Cain. Like he's turned a very particular time period into like something mythic that I would expect like I could see like a Ray Harryhausen movie being made, like some like Clash of the Titans shit being made about like Ka's like childhood and teenage years. Like that's the imagery I get from a lot of his stuff. He's just, I don't know how he does it, but it's all just like so just it's like the it's like bleach it's like bleached bones. Like all his shit sounds like bleached bones to me. So yeah, very lonely.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to like dash. I wanted to say alone, not lonely, because I didn't want there to be a sad connotation. I don't think he's sad to be alone. I think that's how he likes it. And with Woeful Studies and Language Arts, I was excited because he was like, Chuck Strangers is someone I trust to be in this world. Like, oh, great, great. Bring in Chuck. So it's wait. Tell me, Dash, your first impressions of this album and what it means.
First impression was that it felt maybe more hermetically sealed than anything that he's done before. It felt, I mean, I get the alone, not lonely thing. It felt very harrowing. It felt kind of like bloodshot eyes, white knuckle. It felt like urgent in a way that I don't know that I would say a lot of his other records feel. I think his other records feel like he's very adept at creating atmosphere and creating a very singular atmosphere. And a lot of his work, I think, is really exploratory, and I think he finds it. I can find some joy in that. I can hear some joy in his like, I'm going to take this concept and kind of tackle it and kind of address it from all angles. And this felt there's like a desperation that I don't think I've noticed before. Maybe it's been there the whole time and it's just like bubbling to the fore more now. But this one just felt like clenched muscles, like a clenched jaw. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Kay, what was your first impression on this?
I mean, it was a lot to digest. Like the first impression, I listened it, like I was working, and then I put it on, and then I had to turn it off because like, okay, this is not like a passive listening type of record. And so like I saved it for the day, and then I went home and I listened to it, and it was I mean, it was overwhelming in a lot of ways to me.
Yep. Yep. No, it was, and Dylan, there's a way when you're a Ka fan, you know the first listen's gonna be rough because you're gonna miss everything. You're gonna feel like you're drowning, you know. Um, but this one, I swear I missed everything. Like I was so engulfed in the production. I was so engulfed in the sounds. And what the sounds meant. Like this is a rebellious album, right? Like in terms of what he's talking about. But it's a sonically rebellious album too, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. What were your
Yeah,
first
no, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm so sorry.
No, what were your first impressions? Go ahead.
My first impressions were like, so I have a lot of complicated feelings about the church and organized religion, and apparently so does Ka. You know, I mean, like, so like the thing that was really interesting to me about this project, he's he's always kind of seeded this stuff through all of his music. Like he's always kind of like taking little jabs at organized religion and Christianity in particular. Like it's like after I heard it for the first time, I went back and revisited, I think it was Grief Pedigree, Orpheus versus the Sirens, and Descendants of Cain, and just was picking out little nuggets where I'm like, oh, he's kind of been talking shit this whole time. And you know, like leaving it between like the gospel samples and the titles, and like we got to talk about the cover, because like that cover is fucking crazy. It's just like it's such a gorgeous and striking image of like all the nails and just like the little sepulcher shit in the face. Just like it's just like a really striking image. And you know, like it's bold. This is a bold album because not very many rappers I can think of talk about religion or Christianity specifically in this way. Like, not to say that every rapper on planet Earth is Christian, obviously not, but a lot of them are, and a lot of them have a lot of fealty to the church. And Ka is like, I remember I was on the train when I first heard Collection Plate, and like I had to stop and like play it back twice. I was like, you know, like people don't be talking about this shit on records, like just like the idea of, you know, like because like Descendants of Cain is him kind of like, obviously he's using the story of Cain and Abel as a way to, you know, like kind of talk about like what it means to be damned and fate and destiny and Brownsville and all this shit. But you know, like to kind of like this album flips that just on like, okay, we need to talk about these people who post up in the hood with these churches and who aren't giving back to the community, who, you know, like we believe in God, but God's abandoned us. And you know, it's like the idea of like, if you really wanted to bless me, you would have given me the collection plate. You know, just like that's like people don't say shit like that. And you know, like you know, it's not like he's like LL Cool J or somebody saying this,
Right.
but still it's pretty like Dash, I think like harrowing is a great word. It's really like it's very bold. It's bold, it's bleak, or not really bleak, but it's like it really knocked me for a loop that was like the concept of the album this time. Is like, okay, I'm gonna unpack my very complicated feelings about religion and faith. And just like, I mean, the whole album could be boiled down to him saying ain't nothing shook about me but my faith. Like that's the thesis of the album to me, you know. So this is a pretty crazy listen.
It's pretty remarkable. Yeah. I mean, Kay, this I remember, you know, kind of introducing you to Ka and getting you on board with Ka. And like I was always telling you that he's like he sounds like, you know, your old streetwise uncle who's trying to like put you on game, right? There's a wistfulness to the way these stories unfold. There's nothing wistful about this album. This album is angry.
Yeah, I mean, there's a sense of there was a tonal shift.
Yeah.
To me, there's a sense of urgency in his voice and delivery.
On the such devotion, right? The hook.
Yeah.
He sounds like he's growling.
Yeah. Yeah.
So angry.
it's I mean it's like it's almost like this may not make sense to anyone, but I'll just throw it out there anyway. It's almost like an academic who like is an astronomer or something, and he recognizes that there's a meteor coming, and he's trying to convince everyone that there's a meteor coming. There's a sense of passion. There's like, to me, this album is very academic, like in terms of the clips, the analysis that he does, not only on religion but the church as well as an establishment. And it's really, to me, he's really trying to build an argument and convince people to really analyze and look at, this Christian religion.
What an image. That's like Ka on this album is Superman's dad making the case that Krypton's gonna blow.
Yeah.
The Senate won't fucking listen. You know what I mean? Crazy.
One thing I thought about a lot is the fact that he's a firefighter,
Right.
and firefighters save people, and so much of this album is about like examining what it is to be saved, if being saved is even possible, and from someone who does the actual work of saving people from a horrible injury, a horrible death, to then be like, I don't understand what this means, is a really, really striking thing. I couldn't really get over that.
Yeah, that's a great point. And just like, I feel like we all remember when the New York Post ran that hit piece on him, like at like the peak of, I think that was around Honor Killed the Samurai. That was around the time the Fader piece happened, which like that Fader profile is one of my favorite pieces of music journalism I've ever read. But yeah, he's always kind of grappled with that notion, and it's just like it's survivor's remorse at the end of the day. Like, you make it out of a situation like he was in, like several situations that he was in, and it's just like, why do I deserve this? Like, where do I fit in? And it's, like anybody who's been through even like a fraction of what Son has seen and done, like, and like if you can make it through all of that and be like Lecrae,
Right.
it's like, it's like, what are you hiding from yourself? What are you denying that you can just like not blindly accept? Some people just blindly accept it, but like that, like that's like the core conflict of this project. And yeah, like I hear y'all saying it's like his most, it does feel pretty urgent, and it feels urgent because, like, how do I even put this into words? It's it like it definitely feels like the most pressing. This isn't like, he is telling stories from his childhood still, but it's very much like rooted in the, it feels, this feels more present than a lot of his stuff does. Like a lot of it feels like he's for lack of a better word, like not evangelizing, like eulogizing the place he grew up. But now, like this, like this record feels like it's in the present. It's like, this is how I feel about this right now. Like everything, even the stuff from the past is being used to contextualize feelings he's having right now. Like, it's very present, it's very now, it's very like in the moment. I think it's definitely his most in the moment album, if I had to think of a word.
That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, for me, I was reflecting on the whole catalog, right? And I was thinking about the characteristics of my least favorite Ka albums, right? What I settled on was, and this is going to get very scouting reporty, but this is how my brain's working, I guess. Ka is such a technician. You can watch the Red Bull interview where he's talking about words and how he couldn't walk away. He was always hearing and playing with phrases in his mind, even when he's talking to people. This is like a scientist with the words, right? Um, and Language Arts and like Orpheus versus the Sirens, a lot of them, some of those feel like technical exercises. Like, watch me flip these meanings, watch me flip these phrasing. Like, I can wow you with that, and he can. But albums like this where his heart is so in it, it takes it to another level.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, like, speaking as a pretty big Orpheus fan, that might actually be one of my favorite albums of his. I would like I feel like I'd agree for the most part. I think yeah, there's definitely like all of his stuff has passion in it, but like I think about I love from the end of fucking Descendants of Cain a lot.
Oh, one of
I
my
think
favorites.
that's
Yeah.
yeah, that's one of my favorite songs of the this decade. It's incredible.
Right.
And to me, I mean, like this, I don't want to say this whole album feels like nothing but I loves because it's not that intense. It's
Right.
definitely not that intense, but there's more moments where it feels like he was channeling that spirit for like he was channeling that energy for like a different emotion, you know? Because like, like Dan, you said that this kind of feels like angry, and quite a bit of it does feel angry, but some of it also kind of feels like it feels mm, like what I loved about language arts and woeful studies is that he just kind of came into his own as like, I'm a teacher. Like I can guide people through what I went through
Mm-hmm.
and put them on a different path. And it seems like he's taken the same approach through like guiding, like not even like guiding people through a relationship to religion, but he's very much like, if we do this, we can move on and strike a better path. And like he just wants to protect the community, and it's like that's like that presentness that like of the now makes this feel this it helps it stand out. Like I was re-listening on the train home, like yeah, this yeah, like that presentness really grounds this in a way that some of the other projects aren't, even though I love every project he's ever made. But
Yep. And on the scouting report side, last note on that side, just Ka it has a catalog full of incredible beginnings and incredible endings, right? Um, he has some albums where the middle is the sluggish part, you know. Um, you don't realize it a lot because by the end you're like, oh my god, yeah, I got I love. Uh, but there's some of them have sluggish middles. This to me is maybe the best middle.
Mm-hmm.
The middle of this album is so damn solid. Like collection plate is so dope. Like um it's it yeah, this the middle of this thing is strong. It's very strong. And of course the beginning and ending is also very strong. So
Yeah.
it's this album vaulted him up all time for me. So yeah, it's how do you feel about how the album hangs together, Kay? Did you notice differences in it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the beginning was very strong to me. I thought, I mean, I think the opening song, what is it?
Brad
Uh,
Walton? Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
I thought that's probably one of the stronger opening songs that I've heard uh, this this year.
yeah.
In terms of the concept, in terms of the execution, uh, the two levels that it can be viewed at. Um, and I think he did a really great job of setting the tone and really setting the thesis for the album to me. I thought it was just brilliant. I think he is in my opinion, in terms of hip hop, he's probably the only one who could do a song like that.
And not get beaten up for coming down on anyone particularly, right? A lot of people were like, "Oh, he's coming at
Right.
the sex."
I mean, in terms of the organization
Yeah.
and the intellectual rigor that is required for that, I think there's not a lot of rappers that could have made that song, in my opinion.
Another
yeah, I would no. You yeah.
I was just gonna say another poison you holding precious because your toes tap. Holy shit! You know. Go ahead, Dylan.
I'll sit out. I want other people to talk. I have a lot to say about this song.
Go for it. Dash, what do you it's a heck of an opener.
Yeah, I had a hard time kind of parsing it at first because it did seem like, uh, are we suddenly getting Ka's old head record where he's just like he doesn't like the stuff in the mainstream is not what I like. I don't know. My brain just moved a little too quickly, so I can't. I don't know. Yeah, I think as far as that how the album hangs together, I think there's a. I kind of love the way it starts because it gives you the head fake of like, oh shit, are we gonna get a drums album from Ka?
Yeah.
And we don't.
Right.
And but I also think that like it remains super dynamic in a way that some of his other records don't. Like a lot of his records kind of get into this sort of ambient sludge, where it really forces you to pay attention to his writing, and he's one of the greatest writers alive, I think. But this is like this goes back to what I was saying. Like it feels urgent. It feels like there's a desperation because it's so much more animated than I think we've heard from him at least in a while. And I don't know. Is now a good time to talk about the screaming in True Holy Water? Because that is
I
like
think we got to hold the screaming in True Holy.
okay.
I think you got to hold it because I want to. So Dylan, let me give you a prompt on this: bread, body, wine, blood. Right. So what's really great about it is yes, it's the first Ka album that starts with a "fuck you" directly kind of thing, right? But the second song is amazing, beautiful. Like I was playing this album over the speaker. My son was in the other room. And when Beautiful finished, he said, that was amazing. Like, and I was like, have you ever heard any like rappers talk to the sample before? And he's like, no. I was so happy that Ka got to be the first one for him. Um, but so that going from the biggest fuck you to everybody to the world is beautiful. Let me explain how it's beautiful. That's a hell of a thing. It's a hell of a 1-2 punch.
Yeah, I think yeah, because like I really love the construction and a lot of the writing on that first song a lot. I don't agree with his assessment on sex rap and sex workers at all.
Sure.
And like that kind of left a, like not in the sense where I was like, oh, I don't want to hear this. I'm done. I'm throwing all my records out. Like, I wasn't like he was gonna get canceled or anything, but I was like, that's unfortunate because I know because like I've heard the way he talks about women in his records, and he seemed like not to like he added a lot of qualifiers, and you could definitely tell he was trying to tread carefully, but he was like, this is how I feel. And I'm like, I get it, but like I just can't get jiggy with anybody calling women succubi for shaking asses. Like it felt kind of like that was the only part of the song that felt reductive. But to me, like everything else was like, like I grapple with a lot of that stuff, just like about like gun violence shit, gang shit, drug shit. It's like there's a lot to be said for the positives and negatives of all of that. And like that, like I feel like to me, like that's just like I feel like that's what most people just struggle with, like especially as you get older, because it's like it's like there's like a lot of people who do that shit to because it's all they know and it's what they grew up around, like in the same way that Ka's rapping about what he knows. Like it's like it's not like so like but like of course there's just the whole idea of like like the like each of the two verses is broken up into like 4 8-bar sections, and like like he divvies it up, and it's like like this is somebody who's very intentional and like really gives his writing a lot of thought. Like you're not doing this type of stuff if you're just like half-assing it and just like going in and like punching in and leaving whatever. But I didn't think about that until you mentioned it, Dan, that like it is nice to kind of go in from him being like, hey, this is stuff that I'm not really feeling, and this is why I'm not feeling it. To just being like, but fuck the rest because everything else is beautiful. You know, like and it's you know like kind of like to what Dash was saying about it being a pump fake. Uh, obviously, even though like the religious reference is in the title, the first song has no religious references on it at all. Like it has almost nothing to like outside of the name, it has like nothing to do with the concept.
Mm.
And then out of nowhere it's like boom, it's a church record, like boom, we're talking about the church, you know. So it was like I thought that was a nice I thought that was a nice pump fake, because like I think this is where sequencing comes into play, because if this showed up at the end it would feel like a bonus track, but because he decided but because he decided to open it with this, like it feels like that much, if like the statement's that much more potent than it might be otherwise.
And I think it's like the dichotomy of those first two songs, where they are, they open, like it opens with this sort of like kind of old head rant, and then it goes into talking about the beauty of existence. It sets up all the complicated dichotomies and all the complicated relationships that he examines for the rest of the record, and says like, you're not going to get easy answers. You're going to listen to this and it's going to make you question everything, because that's where I am. I'm questioning everything all the time. I mean, this is, how many times on the record does he wonder if he's good enough to get into heaven? Like this is that, he's just like, this is a record of conflict. It's spiritual conflict, existential conflict, conflict of just people being in the same place, like in a place like New York City, in a place like America. It is in a place like a church, like all the kinds of conflicts and the kinds of like cliques and the weird little societies that pop up in every individual church and in the sects of Christianity as they relate to one another. It sets up this really beautiful complexity in those first two songs that in lesser hands would fall so flat.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and even in the third song, Tested Testimony, he says, for me, it means that where I'm at is where I'm from. And it feels connected to that in the moment you were talking about of like, you know, be present, be here, take in what's happening, and don't shift into your own fiction, right? Like be here with us. And that was really great. Okay, another thing I noticed was this might be the best collection of hooks he's had.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
These hooks are powerful.
I mean, I think the hooks were very elegant to me. Like I know that we talked about him in terms of him chanting in a lot of sometimes.
Yep.
I thought that the hooks were just brilliant for their simplicity, yet they were very powerful
and
at the same time.
Impactful. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope it's borrowed time when my time comes, because all my time wasn't kind, son. Like, what?
Like, come on, man. Like, I forget which song it was, but there's another song where like the hook ends with him saying like, if one of us make it, we all do. I feel like it might have been Tested Testimony. It might have been, or it was either Tested Testimony or okay.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, like that. And I don't remember Broken Rose Window had a hook, but if I had to pick a favorite song from this, it was hard for me to pick a favorite song at first, but like on the listen tonight, I think Broken Rose Window is my favorite song on this project.
That song
like,
is so hard. That song is vicious, dude. Like, was it say feel it's true, they want to kill a few, leave the rest blind.
Yeah,
oh my god. Like that song is like, that's a power punch to the whole situation.
Yeah, my man said lie, plot, steal, or drive Hot Wheels, still living in the matchbox. Like, come on, son. Like who's rapping like this, man? Like, you know, like shout out to Matchbox Cars, man. Like, I don't know. He's just different with it. Like
yeah, I mean it's weird. I think Ka's been so important to me over the years, like that. You know, the way some people will reference Jay-Z and be like, well, Jay said on this, like Ka is my Jay-Z a little bit, because I get the bars, I get the triple entendres, I get the incredible vocab usage and the flow, but it's all like therapy, you know?
Yeah. And yeah, in like the least cliche way imaginable, like because like everybody's like, oh, my music's therapy, I do this for therapy. Like this feels like, it doesn't even feel like therapy. It really does feel like somebody just walked up on you in the middle of the street and it's just like holding your shoulders for 35 minutes and is like, look, my wife left me, I have no money, I got an electric bill to pay. My fucking pastor just took my money and put HD TVs in the fucking church right now, bro. Like
Right.
I need somebody to listen to me. I am at my wits end. Like that's what this album feels like to me.
I mean, yeah, Dash, you catch things on here that no one else says, like Cross You Bear. It blew me away. I had to rewind it. He said, still trying to heal, so every meal start with vegetables. Dude's talking about eating vegetables, man, in a hard ass way. Like that's Ka can do that, and no one else is doing that. It's like holistic, you know. Yeah. What and what do you have any moments that really floored you? Were songs that really floored you, Dash?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I could pick out one particular one. The when I listen to it, it all comes together in this sort of wash of um, fear. Well, no, that's not right. Fear's not quite right. What I've been getting from it lately, the past couple times I've listened to it, is there is a little bit of fear, but it's like fear of aging, fear of a little bit of fear of death, but mostly just like uh, I don't know if it's a poem. I think it's a poem. It's a Samuel Beckett piece, Worst Word Ho, and it's the one that everyone knows. The one quote from that's like "Fail again, fail better." Um, and to me, this is like his rewriting of that. It just seems like he's going out every day and trying to be better than he was the previous day, and maybe it doesn't work out, and like wondering what, he's got less days ahead of him than he does behind him, and so is every day going to be like this? I think I can't really say that there's one moment that strikes me the most, because that's personally I'm having some of those same thoughts of just being like, okay, I'm this old, I'm looking at 40 like directly in the eye. What does that mean? Who am I? And that's, I don't know, that's what I keep going back to as I listen to this.
Yeah. No, it's a big deal.
Yeah, like a lot of it's about like he's just like, fuck getting right with the Lord. I gotta get right with myself. Like am I okay with my lot in life? It's I almost feel it reflected in this, like I'm not a religious person. I've always kind of, like from the time I was like 10 or 11, I've just subscribed to the notion of like, like believe in yourself the way you believe in God, like believe in like the people around you. And like, because that's the stuff that's like really affecting you at the end of the day. And that's like, it feels like that's like so much like the maxim of this project is just like, wherever you decide to put your faith, that it could be literally in anything, but like put as much faith into yourself as you do into these deities and these institutions that that are frankly made to manipulate people into either giving money or service or whatever. It's just like he's like really breaking open, like he's like breaking the mechanism, like he's like he's literally breaking the mold of this thing and being like, let's probe this, take it apart. Like what does this thing do? What does that thing do? Like what function does this serve? And you're like, not even in like the practic, not even just in like the technical sense, but in like a practical sense. Like, why do we need this? Why do we cling to this? Like, what about this is so fascinating to people? Like, what about faith? you know, like, you know, it's like really like getting into like how faith is manipulated,
Right.
and how it's not being placed in the how it's just I don't know. He's I don't even want to say he's mad at God, because I don't think he's mad at God. I think he's just trying to figure out like, where do I place that, not just where do I place that blame, but how can I take that energy and put it towards something more constructive that isn't necessarily like, you know, going to Sunday school. You
Yeah, I
know.
definitely don't think he's.
That brought up, sorry to interrupt you, that brought up one thing for me. There is on the second verse of Soul and Spirit, the first line is, with pens I'm pensive, no pretensions. And then about halfway through, he says, make sense of it in every sentence. And so I think that's also like maybe a sub thesis of the album, or just sort of a thesis of his career in general. Like, this, like we've been saying, we've been talking, sort of talking around this in circles, that this is just him trying to grapple with everything and make sense of it, and he can't, but he's not going to stop trying. Every
Yeah.
sentence is another opportunity for him to be like, what does this mean for me? What does this mean for us? What does this mean for the future?
Yeah, no, my man said he could go up against whole catalogs with one leaflet journal. You know, like that's some other shit. So, you know, like he's still like that's yeah, definitely. I agree 100%.
And that's and Kay, but my first listen, like I said, I missed all this, all what he was talking about, because I was totally entranced by how he took the comforting sounds of gospel and slammed them in our face
Yeah.
and made them uncomfortable purposefully. And I was like, holy shit, like, is the production on The Thief Next to Jesus a Kanye diss? Like, is the whole Kanye wave of Sunday service kind of created this wave of gospel-y tinged pop albums, right? And I think the production on this felt like him saying, you guys are being manipulated, hypnotized here by the way these sounds are operating, you know? And I'm going to throw cold water in your face. So that just from the production, that's just the production.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from with that. It's like, because yeah, I think one of the early reactions I think I saw to the track list was somebody like, oh, he's about to do like gospel sampling better than Kanye ever did. And I was like, in my head, I'm like, I don't know if it's gonna be that deep, but you know, like you could like an argument could be made. Like obviously he's not doing like Chipmunk Soul, like college dropout to, I guess, Dark Twisted, or really even pop, like that whole era before everything else happened. But like, you know, it's not that, but you can tell that he's really focusing. Not not every sample on here is gospel based. A lot of them are, but there's a couple that like there's like two blues records like that, or like there's two songs that feel like very sampled from blues records as opposed to like a gospel song, to me anyway. I don't know what most of these samples are, so I can't like, you know, I'm not about to like go and pick and choose, but
Right.
there's you know, like he's definitely playing with the, you know, he is playing with the conventions of like what makes a gospel rap song. You know, like it's like I almost want to call these like anti-gospel songs. Like, you know, they're not exactly you know, the most like affirming I've ever heard for the most part.
There's a difference between looking at a choir that's maybe like on a riser, but you're sort of on the same level, or being on the ground looking up at a group of people yelling at you, singing something at you, something like, you know, I don't know. I'm trying to make that image, but I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm hanging with it. Yeah, but it's a weird one because yeah, there is the Sonics feel like they're rebelling against conventional gospel Sonics while Ka is rebelling against the world of organized religion. And I think part of what as the album goes on, right? I guess we could talk about True Holy Water now, right? Because it's a really important song for me, not just because of the screaming, right?
Ooh.
He says, I speak of bitter loss, and once I get it off, I feel new, right? And the hook, I'm here for you. I sweat, bled, and shed tears for you. Like it kind of ends with him being like, we're the answer. Not, don't worry about it. Like, we're the answer. Like, if we're here for each other, like, you might not be able to believe in your church, but you can believe in me. I'll be here. And it feels like there's a little bit of that in that while that terrible screaming is happening. But how do you all take that ending?
Ooh.
And no, you go first.
Okay, what do you got?
I mean, I was gonna say it's one of the most. It's indescribable. Like it's just very jarring. It's like chilling,
Killing is a good word.
just chilling to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree, especially with the sample and just like, and it's weird because like the actual song itself is very like affirmative and very like, hey, I figured it out, but like I've gotten as close as possible to figuring out what I want to do about this, and I'm gonna work toward that. But it's like he had to scrape to get there. And then on top of that, the sample that closes the record, I don't know if y'all recognize it, but that's Minister Farrakhan talking at the very end of that song. And fuck that guy. I don't like him. I think he sucks. But I thought it was interesting. I don't know if it was intentional. I don't know what he's trying to say, but I thought it was fascinating that he decided to end this more or less like condemnation of Christianity with the voice of the man at the head of the fucking Nation of Islam. Like I don't know what he's trying to say with that. I mean like I don't think he's trying to he's like there's no like endorsement of any other religions on here, but like I just thought like with like considering how you know I don't really know what I'm trying to say. I just know like I thought it was fascinating that he decided to end the album with that person at the end.
Yeah.
Just, personally. Like, like what he's saying in that particular passage is tight and all that, but I was just like, oh, it's like, like it was just it was interesting to me that he ended the album with the most recognizable voice that you could choose for that sort of thing. Like I couldn't pick out any of the other sampled voices. You put seven people in front of me, I would never guess who it is. But like I even like the vocals even pitched down a little bit, but I was like, I know that voice anywhere. So
Yep.
that kind of stuck out to me.
That is different. Yeah. To be like, oh, this is the person who put a hit out on Malcolm X. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, that guy.
Shout out to Brian Reynolds calling that out. Yeah, Dash, True Holy Water, thoughts on that? The lyrics being very kind of positive, but I guess the sonics sound like we're killing a demon, you know?
I think it goes back to the dichotomy he sets up with the first two songs, because the lyrics are very much about the ideal of Christianity, right? The idea that it's about sacrifice in the name of others. It's about kindness, and it's about service, and it's about sort of like understanding that we need to do that to every single other person, and that's the way that we rise up. And the way that has been, I don't know if the record is necessarily a tirade or a diatribe against Christianity, but maybe against American Christianism, for I guess lack of a better word. The way that like that America is founded on violence and subjugation, and it has weaponized this religion that a lot of people in politics and I don't know, people on the right basically want to say that America is this Christian nation, but it's not. It's this. It's like the thing that they subscribe to is this perversion of what should be, the golden rule, the idea that we're all in this together, and it turns it into this horrifying way to oppress other people. And
Right.
that song with the screaming in the background, and then having these moments where he says, "I'm here for you," it sets up that thing that's like, how am I supposed to subscribe to this when you're telling me these ideals that you have no intention or ability even to live up to? I think it's a kind of a, I don't know. We talk about how this is one of the greatest album openings. This is one of the best album closers.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just like no one else could really do this. It's incredible.
It's like an exorcism,
Ooh.
like that's to me it really feels like it's like a purging, it's like an exorcism, it's like that, it's pretty startling stuff. It's hard, it's hard not to walk away from a song like that, like shaken a little bit. And there's always moments on Ka albums where it's like you're gonna walk away shook just a tiny bit, but that's like, yeah, like you ever in Mortal Kombat 3, you could play as Cabal, and he had a fatality where he would take his mask off and scream at people, and he would scare them so bad that their soul would jump out of their body and run off the screen, and that was the fatality. Like, that's what that song feels like to me. It's just like the bearing of the fangs and some like, I'm a purge this shit from my body, like.
Yeah, I was gonna say Cinemasi, since you're Mr. Real Notes. Uh, I was gonna say this kind of reminds me of, you're in the theater watching this movie. It's really dope. It's really kind of shocking at times, and then the ending just ratchets up 1,000%, and you all leave the theater like,
Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah, in that car ride home, you're just like, what the fuck did I just watch? Yeah, like those are
die
some
at
of
the
my
end? What
favorite.
happened? You're just like, you're piecing
Yeah.
it together. Like, what movie do you think this ending would be like? Like the end of this would be similar.
Oh my God. I mean, like there's like, I'm just gonna go off of stuff I've seen recently. I felt that way after I watched Strange Darling, because I finally got to see Strange Darling, and like the way, I don't want to spoil the movie. All I'm gonna say is it's about a serial killer and it's told out of order. That's all you need to know. Don't know anything else about it. Go watch it. It's fucking great. Like that's how I felt about the ending of Strange Darling. Like it like very, like it just changes your entire perception of the movie. Like it just flips the whole shit on its head, and it's very like, you walk away exhausted. Like the final shot of that movie is very much like it's a reflection of the feeling you get walking out of the theater and like having gone through that story, and it's just like, like you really feel like, I mean, like I felt like I ran a mile and a half, and I was just like, like it's just, one damn thing after another type shit.
That's perfect. Yeah, that makes sense to me. That's how I felt about it. The ending of this, yeah, it's an album that you don't feel like anybody's gonna do, because it's not like, he's not, Ka doesn't let himself sound too cool, right? That's not his thing, right? He's still telling you eat your vegetables. Beautiful. He says treating with the same respect you seeking is beautiful, and like, you're like, holy shit! Like he just rapped the golden rule. Like, this is like, that could be on a rap from a kids show in PBS. Like, it's he's still very much genuine enough to not look cool, and he's still holding himself accountable and talking about the shit that he did, but he's also just savagely against. I think I was thinking, when you, during your explanation, Dash, I was thinking of it as like the dangers of myth making, and the economic wheels that turn around, right? That myth making is a part of the machine. You know, it's not like it's not a one-off, it's not a hapstance. The machine needs it, you know. And I think that's one of the things that Ka is trying to get everybody to see in this album.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like not only you can't really critique the American Christian church or the American Christian institution without critiquing capitalism because they're just so incredibly linked. I mean, the American idea of Christianity is based in violent, oppressive capitalism. And that's what it is. There's really no way around it.
Yep. No, it's yeah, it's a big deal. And it's and the thing about it, Kay, that's so interesting is it's against religion, but not against God. There isn't any sort of serious, like, he's not like a Satanist, you know what I mean? He's not going out
No,
wild or anything.
I mean, I
Right,
think
right.
it's. I mean, for me, what I gathered is it really is an empowerment album. As in, I think, you know, the thesis for me was like, look, we don't need to rely on this establishment, this religious establishment, in for our sense of worth, our sense of pride, our sense of joy. We have that innately in us. We just need to recognize it. So I to me, it's almost like a rallying call. Like he's trying to, like, come on, wake up. Like you got all the tools that you need. You don't have to go looking elsewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, you know, like yeah, like he's you know, like he definitely has his own relationship. Like he has like he you can tell that he has a relationship with faith. You can
Yep.
tell that he's not, you know, that he's not like denouncing the idea of like a higher power, you know. Yeah, like Dan said, it's not like he's, you know, it's not you know, it's not like he's like renouncing God or whatever. It's not that type of album, but it's very like Dash was saying, it's very much like a, you know, just like we're like really picking the thing apart and being like, why does this matter to us so much when we could just like do the thing ourselves? And you know, like I really love the, you know, like the church and capitalism are you know, like they're intertwined. You know, you can't talk about one without talking about the other. Like real quick anecdote. I used to when I was younger, I stopped going to church when I was around like 10 or 11 years old. My parents pulled my father specifically pulled us out of the church because the pastor, well, for two reasons. A, because the pastor started using the collection plate money for himself. He bought himself clothes and a car and like TVs for the for like the church and shit. And then on top of that, like the pastor he was like bashing gay people. And my dad was like, "Nope, we're out of here." Like it was like instantaneous. Like the same day he was like, "Nope, we're never coming back here." And like my parents sat us down and were like, "Look, we're off this shit. But if you want to be a part of this, if you want to have your own relationship with God, whatever, you can do that. Like you can go follow it." My sister and I were like, "Nah, but thanks. We're cool." And that was and that, you know, like a lot of people are so indoctrinated in the just like the sensationalism of the church and like that sense of worth, like Kay was talking about before, that
Right.
you know, like people don't see another way, they don't see another way out. Like most people wouldn't be giving their children that option at 10 at like 10, 11 years old, or like
Right.
my sister was like 8 or 9 years old at that point.
Yeah.
So like, you know, like it's like that was like that was one of the greatest gifts they ever gave me, was like, you know, like we think you're old enough to make this decision for yourself. And I think you know, I think those values are kind of being reflected on this album, which is part of the reason why it's stuck to my ribs that way, you know. Like not to say that yeah, like, or what am I saying? Yeah, like that, like I'm thinking about this just now as I'm like telling the story. Like I think that's part of the reason why this album kind of is affecting me the way it's affecting me, because it's like, damn, like I'm really seeing that those ideals being reflected back in my face. Like I know exactly where he's coming from.
Yeah,
So it's pretty cool,
that's
and once
that
again, super fucking bold.
Super
Mhm.
Bowl. But like, yeah, you've seen people that have to walk away from that. I mean, I have to own up. I've never been under any sort of religious persecution. I grew up Reformed Jew in Maine, and I used to run around after the service, the potluck, and tell everybody I didn't believe in God. And there was this Ethiopian Jewish dude, and he would ask me questions about why I thought that way, and we would have long philosophical discussions about belief. And I was like a little kid. It was great. I loved that. I love that I could walk around and be like, I don't believe in this, and they'd be like, "You're still Jewish. It's fine. This is who you are."
Yeah,
Uh,
it's tough. I
yeah.
like.
And so when I learned about the Christian version of it, I was like reading St. Augustine, like, damn, this guy's a hustler. I didn't realize that original sin was a hustle. This is a hustle. Like, this is crazy. And so my perspective on all this stuff is very different. It's very outsider. Uh, but I was always fascinated by the hustle, the grind, the grift that wove into the industry. So
Right. And
What
I
was
think for me, I almost I said at the beginning, I thought that it was very academic to me, and I think that Cobb builds like a good case for why he feels the way. Like he examines the issue from so many different angles that by the end of the album, it the last song resonates with you even more because you intellectually arrive to this conclusion based on all of the previous songs.
yeah, it's a real case. It's a
Yeah.
TED talk, you know. Uh, Dash, what were you gonna say?
I it strikes me in a similar way to what Dylan was saying. I was raised by an Irish Catholic and a Southern Baptist, and for a while in my youth, I was a kid. I was like fairly religious, like pretty religious, and I lost my faith in a very intense instant when the youth pastor at my church told me that a specific group of people was going to go to hell. He was like a divinity student and he had to have parish hours, and this woman came in and was crying, and she was like, my daughter is she's in love with a Jewish man and she's going to convert for him, and I'm really scared she's going to go to hell. And he was like, it really pained me to tell her that she was right. And in that moment I was like, no, you've been telling me. I mean, it's that dichotomy of the screaming and the I'm here for you. You've been telling me explicitly that we're supposed to care for everybody and we're supposed to lift everybody up, and that everyone is created in this utopian manner. We all deserve salvation. We all deserve whatever form of heaven exists, except for those people. And in that moment, I took a really intense turn into atheism, and I'm no longer there. For many many years. But like hearing Ka grapple with potentially losing faith. I don't think he loses his faith over this record. I don't think he's lost his faith at all. But like hearing him grapple with that moment of being like, how do I square what I know in my heart and what has been taught me, what I've been taught by these people who have instilled this idea in my heart? How do I square that with your behavior? How do I? You're not setting any kind of example that's congruous with what you're telling me, and I don't know how to deal with that. So every sentence is going to be me processing this.
See, look at you bringing it back full circle. I love that. Like, and you saying all of that reminded me of like another big theme of every car record is like giving back to your community, like because like I think about Money from Honor Killed the Samurai, and just him being, there's like a minute, there's like a section in that song where he's just like, how many cars you need, where he's just like admonishing people for like going a little too hard with the flexing and the flossing, and just like, man, like he's like, I'm over here blueprinting rec centers, like I'm giving back to my community. He's a firefighter. I think he's retired. I think he retired recently. So like he's just cooling now. But like, like like even outside of like the FDNY stuff, he is like a figure in his community. Like he works with organizations. He raised, like he's like a surrogate uncle, father figure to like children, and like he's like actually like he's actually trying to be the change he wants to see in the world, and I think like it's not like this is like all of this that we're talking about fits into the vision that he's put forth on all his records. Like this is the type of person he's always been. And the thing about a Ka record that will really make you like stop and listen to everything is like how he like, because like every single Ka record really has like the same basic beats and the same basic themes and the same basic like talking points almost, like, but it's all like he finds a way to just like dress the theme around it, and like the theme is what makes it different. Like the theme is what makes it interesting. The theme is what makes it feel like a different experience every time. Like that's why he's such a great stylist. That's why his worlds feel so immaculately crafted, because like it really is just new window dressing on the same ideas. And he manages to do that in a way that's not boring or that's not repetitive. Like there's none of these projects that I would look at and be like, oh, it's just like the annual Ka album. Like, it's like, oh, it's no, like, how they used to do like the Saw movies where like every Halloween, new Saw movie, new Saw movie. Like it's not like that. Like this, like it very much feels like there's a little more thought and intention being put behind, like, how am I going to express this stuff this time? And he does it in a way where like you don't even notice until you start to really dig into it, and it's like it's all like, and once again, I mean this in the best possible way. Like he's always chipping away at the same shit, but in different ways and with a different approach. It's, I don't know, like there's, like we've been saying, like not many people can do this, because like like it'd be easy for him to be like, he could easily be like somebody like West Side Gun. Like those Man Who Shall Not Be Named tapes are like basically all the same tape, like with like some different production and some new guests. Like Ka records could easily just be that. Like Rock Marcy records could easily just be that. But like they're so good at theming their works, and they're so good at like making them each feel distinct from each other. Like that's a skill that a lot of people don't have, especially people who are dropping one project every 3-4 months, which fine, I love that. Give me music. But like the intention he puts behind his shit is just like, intention is really what pushes this over the top. And the intention here is I don't know, this is a cool project. Like I liked it before, but listening to it again and talking about it with y'all now, like this is who else is doing it like him? Like really,
you got it. Like, so we have a certain language in State of the Game that we've used for this kind of thing because it's important to us, right? So somebody like you talked about building on the same themes, right? You talked about dressing up the same concepts and ideas. We talk about people like, give you an example. Pink Sifu is someone that I would call an artist of the unbound function, right?
great example.
Yeah, you never know what the hell the next Pink Sifu album is going to sound, right? And in what genre it could be, what's going to happen, and we love that as an audience. We understand that we're going on the ride, right? The expectation is no expectation. Ka is the opposite of Pink Sifu. Ka is what we've referred to as the sculptor, right? Because the sculptor might take 6 months chiseling away at the teeth of what the thing, and the sculptor has to be patient, right, and just chisel away. And Ka patiently chisels away at these ideas and this trauma that he's been dealing with since what, 2012? 12 years. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I mean, like it even go. Like I would go back to Ironworks. Like Ironworks was like
2008.
08.
Yeah, yeah.
So like almost 20 years at this point.
Almost
You
20
know,
years.
like
And you so you have someone who is and and the thing about the sculptor is the sculpture is more impressive the more you stare at it, right? Because that's when you start to see the time and the effort put into the curvature of everything. And this album is a bit like that. Like the more you stare into it, the more you find that is so engaging.
yeah, and it's so simple and it's like very basic. And he's like, of course, like I feel like I've talked a ton about how much I love like how much he can condense into like 5 words. Like it's like a whole story in 5 words. It makes it, like on the note of the sculptor, it makes it seem like the SpongeBob episode where he just hits the shit one time and then boom, the statue of David comes out of the marble. Like, like that's how it feels. But obviously, like he's been chiseling the teeth and
Yep.
like making sure every little detail is perfect, but it feels like boom, art. Like,
Yeah,
it's
it feels
shit
that way.
is crazy.
No, that's and the language thing is important because you the commonality between Ka and Woods is while they're going to give you something dense, it's not going to be constructed in a way that sails over your head. You know, it's going to be conversational, it's going to be matter of fact, but it's going to be deep. You know, uh, Dash, talk to me about uh, the Sam Beckett comparison. You still thinking about the Ka as Sam Beckett? Hit me.
A little bit. I mean, I think I can kind of view Ka as like an existential philosopher in so many ways, especially with this record. And I think a lot of what I mean, Beckett was a nihilist, so there are crucial differences in those particular views. But I really think that at the heart of both of those people, I think that there's this desire to be better, a desire to learn, a desire to adapt, and a confusion about the endless amount of obstacles that get in the way of that.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, yeah, I don't know. I think that's it. I think that's it. I think it's just like they're both just saying that existence is hard and it's never not hard. It's always going to be hard. And maybe in Ka's worldview, there is joy to be found. It takes a lot of work to find it. I don't know that Beckett necessarily believed that there was joy available. I think that he wanted to. I don't know if he ever found that, but um, yeah, I guess that's it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the reason you said Sam Beckett, uh, it really rung true for me because first time I ever read Beckett was in a college class about Irish play drama. Um, and what a class! Irish drama is a heck of a thing. So, and I remember reading it and kind of holding it up and being like, "This guy's fucking better than everybody. Why didn't I get this earlier?" Why the fuck were you making me read Robert Frost poems when this was here? Fuck that.
Said fuck nothing gold can stay.
Motherfucker writing about the snow. I live in the snow every day. Where's Beckett? So and Ka is like that. Ka is known but unknown. And it's yeah. So I thought of that as an interesting thing. For me, my comparison came, and this the way this formulates for me with Ka is that Ka is our Gil Scott Heron. So Gil Scott Heron to me is like the Lorax of the 70s. You know? Gil Scott
Mm.
Heron is sitting over there on the side being like, you can't fucking do this. You're putting men on the moon and we're starving. What the fuck is wrong with you? Right? Like Gil Scott Heron is over on the side being like, alcoholics are dying on the street. Why don't you care? You know? And if you want to know what was wrong during his lifetime, you just have to listen to that music, right? And I think Ka is our Lorax. He's our Gil Scott Heron.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because I feel like that like their styles feel so different to me. Like not even so much their approaches, but their styles feel so different to me. Like they care about the same things, but like there's I want to say there's no Ka song that I would ever compare to like Whitey's on the Moon
Right.
or like Winter in America or like Pieces of a Man. Just in the sense that like, like Gil Scott was one thing he was that Ka isn't very often is like funny. Like he was like very funny, very witty, very like, like he like there's like jokes in his writing. Like, like dry humor, like but like the that's another one of the reasons Broken Rose Window is one of my favorite songs in this album is because it's funny. He's like telling jokes. Like I've never heard Ka tell a joke before. Like not really. He's like telling jokes on that song. And like that one kind of feels like a Gil Scott Heron song to me. Like but I say that to say that I both see and don't see what you mean by that. Like, you saying it and me, I'm unpacking it in real time. And it's actually making me want to go back and re-listen to Winter in America because that's
Amazing record. Yeah.
yeah, like every Gil Scott Heron record, like to me, he's like Stevie Wonder. Like there's no bad Gil Scott Heron albums. Like Winter in America, Pieces of a Man, the last one he made that came out on XL that was
Oh my
produced by his
God.
son, I'm New Here.
Yeah.
Like that was a head bust. Like
Crazy.
15, 16-year-old me didn't know what the fuck hit him when they heard that record, bro. Like that shit rewired my brain. Like that album's amazing.
Yeah, I mean the thing that I've always held with like Baldwin and the connectivity for me with Baldwin and Gil Scott Heron and even Ka is these are people who deeply care about every character in the story. And there's just a lot of empathy there.
Right. And they're regular too. Like they're like in that sense they're connected because they both feel like people.
Yep.
Like it doesn't feel like they're this like supernatural presence who has this like crazy innate ability to put words together on some like LL Cool J or some like Method Man shit. Like these guys feel like your neighbor. They feel like the guy who goes to work. You might see him when you're on the way to your car or the bus, or you might see him at like the store or some shit and like talk for 20 minutes. And like they feel like your neighbor who goes off and lives a life. And it's a pretty fucking crazy life, and like has all these like just all this trauma in there, like this inner turmoil that you don't know about until you like sit down with them at dinner one night and you're just like, damn, like I hear you and see you, like the both of them had that going for sure.
Mhm.
And
I
that's
mean, for me, like the more I think about Ka, there really is. At first, I kind of saw him as a very detached individual. Maybe it was because of delivery, but the more I listened to his projects, the more I realized how human he is. And I think of, I remember like Lauryn Hill. She had the Unplugged album.
Yep.
She had during one of her interludes, she was talking about like I'm a mad scientist. What I do is I try I try the antidote, and then I tell you, like everything I tell you I've been through.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how Ka is to me. Like he's very human. Like he's like, look, we're all going through the same things, but these are what I found works for me. These are the realizations I came through, I came to, and that I've tested. Now I'm gonna present it to you to help you kind of get through what you're going, what I went through,
yeah, it sounds to me like Ka would make a really good steak. And like and you're like in that and like in the sense that like he's very patient, he's very observant, he's a wizard with timing, and like he's gonna make sure that everything gets seasoned and prepared and butter basted and like just prepped just right before you or like from what I understand he's vegan for the most part, so probably not a steak, but like he could chef something up real nice.
Yeah.
Like
Sure.
he could make me like a nice like vegan tostada. I feel like, you know, like a nice little like veggie tostada on some shit. Like I'd want to eat whatever he made for me, is what I'm
Patience
trying to
in the
say.
kitchen. Yeah, I like that. I like that. The yeah. Do you Dash? Do you have any final thoughts on this thing? I have my final thought, but I'm gonna save it.
I do. The day that it came, not the day that it came out necessarily, the day that he announced on Twitter that you could buy the WAV files. Um, Apropos of nothing, this is very serendipitous. A good friend of mine who lives in my hometown sent me this quote from Flannery O'Connor that was essentially about like why she and other Southern writers of her time were so able to write about like the grotesque and grotesque people, grotesque characters. And I'm not going to read the whole quote, but there's one line that jumped out at me because I read this and immediately pressed play on this record.
Yep.
And the line is, I think it is safe to say that while the South is hardly Christ-centered, it is most certainly Christ-haunted. The Southerner who isn't convinced of it is very much afraid that he may have been formed in the image and likeness of God. Ghosts can be very fierce and instructive. And like, it just, that's just been sitting with me. Same day, apropos of nothing, felt like whatever magic Ka taps into just brings these things into your consciousness.
That's pretty fucking insane.
He,
Yeah, like
Brilliant.
ghosts are instructive is
yeah.
wow. That's a
Yeah, no, that's real. The Flannery O'Connor, shout out to Flannery O'Connor, amazing writer. Yeah, for me, this album really did change my relationship with Ka all time. You know, I had Ka very high, but this album made me force myself. This is one of your 5 favorite rappers who ever lived. He's up in the top 5, not 5. Best rappers who ever lived for me. And I think it's kind of forced me to think about that relationship because I think one of the knocks on Ka was like, you know, when Mace made Feel So Good, he had the whole world rocking, and nobody really knows what Ka is doing over there, and it's like okay, but no one's ever been able to just grow alone like this and get better as a producer. And when Big Crit came out, it was a producer and a rapper. He was doing it so he could get big enough to get cool features to work with BB King and all this stuff. And Ka's like just alone in the corner, just working on this fucking sculpture forever. And I've just never seen anything like it in the history of the thing, you know?
Yeah, especially considering how old he is too. Like he's over 50,
Right.
you know, like he's like, you know, like, of course he's talked about it a bunch, but like an interview in the small handful of interviews he's ever done. But you know, like just this idea of like, you know, like it was whack to be a 30-year-old rapper when I was coming up. It was whack to be a 25-year-old rapper when I was coming up, you know, like
Right.
if you didn't pop early, you didn't pop at all. And he's kind of like at this point where he's the antithesis to that. He's like he's a lifer, you know, like this is, you know, like there's always one bit from that Red Bull interview that you mentioned before that always gets me is he's like I'm sure there's like some 80-year-old dude who's somewhere in the world who loves disco, and he's like, you know, like nobody cares about it right now, but he loves that shit, and he's gonna stay in his house, he's gonna make his disco records forever, and because he likes it and it makes him feel good. You know, like maybe he'll share it, maybe he won't, but it's not for everybody, it's for him, and it makes him feel good. You know, like, and then he asked the question like, are you prepared to do this when it's not cool anymore? You know, like, are you prepared to rap, are you prepared to write, are you prepared to do anything when it's not cool anymore? Like, does it fuel you that much? Like, if so, then do it. And that's Ka.
That's Ka. That's it. Yeah. That's it.
Hmm.
So going to recommendation corner. We can't top that, okay? We can't. That's how you go out. So obviously it's a non-Shannon Sharp recommendation corner. But I last weekend I put out this thing just basically because my timeline is highly intelligent, so I can just throw shit out there. And so I said, I love Nina Simone. Y'all love Nina Simone. What are your favorite Nina Simone albums? And everyone pitched in with an album I hadn't heard because Nina's got like 19 studio albums. I haven't heard them all. I go back to the ones I go back to. So shout out to Disco Vietnam, who said Emergency Ward, his live album, crazy, so dope. My Sweet Lord, Let It Be are on there. Might have been the Real Fortes who said Here Comes the Sun. Here Comes the Sun is crazy. There's a part in there where she starts doing a song, My Father, and then just goes, nope, we're not doing this song. I don't feel it. It's not where I'm at. And she explains it and laughs, and it's over and goes to a song she likes to do. And I was like, this is amazing. Nina was so cool, and Nina was good to pair with Ka. It was very good that way. So yeah, dig into some Nina Simone. It's always rewarding. It's always something you should have around. And nobody mentioned anything that I liked. Everybody had other shit that they loved, so that's pretty dope. I guess the other one will go. I'm gonna go with Water and Tone Beats, Order of the Day Family Business. Water with 2 R's at the end. And yeah.
And Chicago's finest. Shout out to Water. He's amazing.
Great guest on the show. This is an album that like is about family, but it's not a kind of a sappy thing. It's here, family business. Here's how we conduct it. Here's how it's organized. It's really dope. It's a really dope album. I really like that. And Waters very smart, and getting and pushing himself to be, I think, smarter and better each project. Yeah, so those would be my 3. What Dash, what are you listening to?
Let's see. I really love that Messiah album. I don't know if y'all are familiar with him. He's
Oh
from
yeah.
Charlotte.
Yeah.
The Villain Wins. I think that
Villain
record's
Wins.
incredible. The more and more I listen to it, the more it grows on me. It's a bit of a sleeper hit. I don't think it's gotten the press that it deserves, but it's
I agree.
really, really good. There's a rapper from Tucson, Arizona named Ray, R-E-Y. He just put out a new record with Rand One or Randy One. I'm not sure how to pronounce the name. It's RND1. It's called A Block Away, and it's just this really spacious, beautiful. It's pretty short. It's a gorgeous listen, and Ray is just a really, really great rapper. I think that he deserves a lot more shine. And I had another one. My last one, I don't know. I really like that latest Larry June album. Every time I put it on, I feel really good.
That's cool.
It's great. He can be such a lazy rapper, but he doesn't. He's leading bike rides in San Francisco. I think he's just having the best time of his life, and that comes through. I always feel good when I put that on.
No one said it better, Kay. One of the funniest goddamn moments we've ever had on the show was when Psalm 1 said Elite Cat in the Hat raps.
Basically.
And did that whole breakdown on the year end. Larry
That's
June,
it.
Elite Cat in the Hat raps. I'm not even going to duplicate the bit. So funny. Love someone. She's a big Larry June fan. So when you love it and you hear it enough, you can parody it pretty well.
Yeah, my favorite Larry June moment of the last couple of years has to be there's a moment when he guests on he's on a Mike song called Golden Hour, and about halfway through his verse he stops the verse and he just goes like, hang on Mike, I'm gonna go in, and then just like doesn't change anything about his delivery at all. It's kind of amazing. It makes me laugh every time I think about it. Like just like so like he said he's gonna go in and then he never went in. But like it's just a funny moment. Shout out to Larry June. We
That
love orange juice.
and yeah, that show you said we talked about Mike. I wanted to mention when there was during in on the RMPP chat talking to Kosif Cozy, and I was talking about how important Ka is to me, and Kosif was like, "That's how Mike is to us." So I really think Mike is kind of that younger generation doing that, um, and having that lane because Mike is so specific, so unique, and in a way very by himself as well. Um, so that's Mike deserves to be in that conversation.
Absolutely, man. Like
Yeah,
he's yeah, like having talked to a lot of younger people like in like their early to mid 20s, even in their late teens, like they love that dude. And he's incredible. You
yeah,
know, like him and the whole 10K. They got a very unique movement that like nobody's really seeing right now. Like they're like we will be looking back at this 10K movement in 10 years and being like, wow, like this was a moment. Like they really were spearheading some shit, you know.
absolutely. What are you bumping?
Hmm.
Cinemasi?
Excuse me. I got three things. I'm a just go ahead and say that I'm on the Carrot season wave. Shout out to fucking Another Planet, Feek and Lungs.
Yo yo yo
Those
yo.
those boys are dirty, man. Like I don't even know. I could talk a whole nother hour and a half about how much I love what they do. And like this is it's so funny to me because their other project, like Another Planet 4, has almost no drums on it. It's almost all just drumless loops. And people obviously complain about that because there's a lot of people who
Sure.
just don't like it. You know, it's whatever. This whole album, every single song that Ola Sun produces has drums on it. Every single song has drums on it,
Yeah.
and they just go. Like it's really remarkable. Like I don't know. There's nobody rapping like Lungs and Feek. I've had Carrot season for a while, and
Yeah, me too.
That shit is
they're amazing,
incredible.
bro.
It's incredible.
Like
It's
Absolutely.
incredible, and I think their Feek is getting to elite levels, man. Like I'm, you know, there's gonna have to be times where we stop and just talk about Feek, like,
yeah, yeah,
and
man.
it doesn't, lungs is lungs and is amazing. Feek is really leaps and bounds getting up there. So, yeah, I think on this
Yeah,
record,
man.
very impressive.
I agree, man. Like that, yeah, like the two of them are just
Yep.
yeah, they're the both of them like alone and separately and together, they're next level.
Not to delay your recommendations, but if anybody in this chat listening to this has a chance to go see them live, absolutely
please,
take that chance because it is
please.
one of the most astonishing rap performances you will probably ever see.
There you
Yeah,
go.
man. Like I've been so lucky and so fortunate to be able to see them and the whole Taze grip just do their thing. Like it's like you really have to see it to believe it. They're next fucking level. Like they do it almost exactly like they do on the record. It's very nuts. Um, what else? I've really been loving the Baby Osama album that came out earlier this year, Sexy Summer. I think it's great. She's kind of like like everything in New York that isn't Cash Cobain adjacent right now. Who like also shout out to Cash. His new album's really good. Not as good as the last one, but like everything that isn't Cash Cobain adjacent is Baby Osama adjacent. Like she's kind of like next up out here, and it like in that sense. And it's been nice to sit with that project for a little while. And then on top of that, I think my last recommendation is gonna be this album Soda by Yolanda Watson, who's this incredible vocalist who's based out of she's based out of or excuse me, they're based out of New York. We met I think we met at Na Really's album release party when he did the Blip release party in Brooklyn. And you know like we connected and they opened and they blew my mind, you know, just like really beautiful, just like really beautiful. Like I don't want to call what they do R&B, but like it's kind of in that zone. But they're super dope. I love their voice. I love their writing. I love just the whole everything. I just cop Soda for Bandcamp Friday, and I'm looking forward to spending more time with it. You know,
Definitely.
I could recommend 80 million records, but I think those are the three
I
I
think
want to
those are
focus
great.
on.
I think those are great. Yeah. Kay, what would you recommend other than voting for Trump? You know?
It's good. So I think I've been on a Old Dirty Bastard kick.
Yes.
Let's go.
When was it? On Friday I got 36 Chambers and then N-Word Please.
Yep.
And it's just like some of the most mind-blowing music that I've ever heard. I'm still digesting. Like I just got the albums on Friday and I'm still digesting it. It's ridiculous. I can't even describe it. What's going on in my head when I listen to it.
Yep. Baby, I got your money.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Say,
Good
hey,
stuff.
yeah,
No, Dirty was free.
Yeah.
yeah.
Free. And sounded free, you know. A lot of people don't get to sound free, you know.
Yeah.
They can be rich, they can be powerful, they can be thought well of, but they don't sound free.
Mm.
So if anybody here hasn't read it, I recommend people go read the Sunday review that Pitchfork published of Return to the 36 Chambers,
Ooh.
because I think that does an incredible job of contextualizing that album and Dirty's sound and just like what his whole ethos was about. Like there's an extended bit where they talk about the promotional video where he was in the limo with his family and he goes to cash the welfare check, and I don't know, man. Sheldon Pierce wrote that, and that's one of my favorite writers.
Okay.
I'm
Excellent.
always chasing Sheldon, but like, you know, like that's one of my favorite reviews he ever wrote for the site, and I reference it pretty often. I read it and reference it pretty often. So like that's
Excellent.
that's just dope.
I was actually shocked at how good a singer. He's like a really good singer.
Yeah.
Which is mind blowing.
He was really
Yeah,
good at a lot
man.
of things. I mean, that's
Like
good. He was good.
also maybe very cliche, like Triumph is maybe one of my favorite opening moments of any song ever. Like that 10 seconds is literal perfection. Just everything about it. Like, you know, just like who else is gonna start a song out like, okay, my niggas and niggerettes? Like, come on, man. Who's seen Dirty? Like, I don't know. Like he'd be goated just off of that alone. Like kind of like how Big Noid was from Mobb Deep. Like that's like his. I don't know. Dirty's amazing.
I remember after he passed and I was outside at a rap show and we were all just like huddled around telling stories, strangers, you know, huddled around telling stories about how crazy Dirty was. And how unbelievable it was that we got to like live through this life, you know, where he was at. It's amazing.
Right. Yeah, I can imagine.
Love to that. Yeah. Any TV that you're watching? Anything you're into?
I'm still watching Industry. Really solid season. Yeah, that's about it.
We're doing the Murders in the Building.
Let's go.
Yeah. I tried to watch some of the debate last night, but my wife came down. She was not having it.
I got all my debate energy from Twitter last night. I got what I needed. So if we're talking TV real quick, me and my partner just finished watching Kevin Can Fuck Himself on Netflix. We just finished it like 2 days ago. And that and okay, so do y'all know what that is? First and foremost?
I've seen the image. I haven't dug in. No.
So Steel Tip Dove put me onto it when I had him in Alaska on Real Notes a couple weeks back. And the concept of the show is like it's shot like normally it's shot like a 3-camera sitcom, like, you know, like King of Queens, Big Bang Theory, you name it. And it's centered around this guy named Kevin. He's just like this boorish, self-absorbed, like the typical like sitcom dad man person, you know. but the show is actually about his wife, who's played by Annie Murphy, who played I forget the girl's name on Schitt's Creek. So like the show is actually focused around her, and whenever Kevin's not in the room, the show starts being shot like a 2-camera AMC Breaking Bad type of show. Like the lighting's darker, the tone gets darker, and she's like living a life, and she hates her husband because he's, like the boorish, self-absorbed sitcom dad archetype, and that's actually like fucking psychotic. And the whole show is about like examining how fucked up that is. And it's just like her life, and like it's super fucking, it only lasted 2 seasons. And there's a reason, like they were telling a 2-season story, but it was really well done, very funny, very biting, very dark stuff that I wasn't expecting to enjoy as much as I did. It was like very high concept, but like really accessible. Like it wasn't like something like as much as I love Severance, like that's like very like that's high concept stuff that can be kind of hard to grasp. But this was like very, very high concept, but also very like everyone knows these beats and rhythms, so it's easy to kind of settle into the vibe of the show. It's dope. It's on Netflix.
Okay,
very
excellent.
worth your time.
Yeah, when I think of like the high concept show that's too high concept, I think of that. I think it was a Hulu show where he wasn't allowed to smile at all. Was it Devs?
That sounds kind of familiar. I don't think I watched
I
it.
think it was Devs. Yeah, he just it wasn't. He had a serious face the whole time. He wasn't even talking that much, and it was like, this is very serious. And like, I don't know, man. I'm out here. But yeah, thank you both for being here. This was unbelievable.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you. It's always love and support for what you're doing. When you read a great review, music review that you like, remember the writer's name. Follow the writer on social media. Become invested in them the way you're invested in basketball players. And you'll just be in a better place. Your timeline will be in a better place, the whole thing.
And do the same with Freemusicempire. Put everything you have into Dano and Kay and everything they got going on, man. This is special. It always feels like home. So thank y'all for having me. I'm happy to be here.
It feels beautiful.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was just a fantastic conversation. Always a pleasure to talk with all of y'all. It's great.
Absolutely. Thank you, and Shannon Sharp's welcome here anytime.
What will tomorrow bring? What will tomorrow